Okay.
All right.
12, 12.
Yes. 12:02:2010. Yeah, it's a mirror reflection today. Yeah. 12th of February, 12:02, and then 2012. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't even like see you like notice. I mean, I
Hiding in
did,
the
but I
corner.
didn't. Huh?
I'm hiding in the corner.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, I was talking about how someone in the group looks so much younger every time I see him.
Who could that be?
And that reminds me to talk about the fact that when we're healing ourselves, we get to go back and, in a sense, redo the times that we lived in a state of confusion and trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when we set that intention to heal ourselves. And so people will find themselves acting, particularly, we go back and redo our adolescence. You know, if we were ever, remember last time we were talking about the thigh being related to sexuality? And so many of us in adolescence didn't go and do all the things that adolescents are, you know, likely to do. And classically, as soon as men in particular turned 50, right? It was the time for the red convertible and the young girlfriend. No? This is the same kind of thing, reliving your adolescence because you never did it, right? You know what? That's still running upstairs. Can somebody, the water's still running.
Do you want to turn on the light right away?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Where's the switch?
It's at the base of the light right there.
This one?
Yeah.
Not that one?
Okay, we could do that. That's in the hallway.
Okay.
Logistical things. Good luck. Yeah, you got it. Wow.
There we go.
Woo!
It's too bright.
Yeah, it'll do. We'll get used to it. So, yeah, that's really a blessing that we're able to do that, to go back and relive and re-experience those steps in our lives. But at the same time, we have to allow it to happen. Very often, we'll judge ourselves and try to resist the needs that come up to because, well, at my age I shouldn't be thinking this, or I shouldn't be doing this, right? But you know, for example, when people have never been mothered, then at some point in our lives, it's, in order to heal that, it's important to receive mothering, right? And that can be at any time in our lives that we need that. And we're all mothered. But some of our mothering has created wounds more than stability, right? We're all perfectly mothered, and I'm going to repeat that again, right? But as we begin to release the wounding of our lineages and our ancestors, we need to often relive in a different way the different steps of our lives. Do you remember the question that I asked you last time? That was your homework.
About the eyes?
Yeah.
How are the eyes related to wood element and to this whole thing about obstacles in our lives? Anyone?
Say that again. Obstacle.
Obstacles, les obstacles.
Ah,
Comment,
c'est
comment, oui. Parce que j'avais expliqué que dans l'élément bois qu'on discutait la dernière fois,
oui.
les organes sont la vessie biliaire et le foie, et aussi les articulations et les yeux. Et on n'avait pas discuté les yeux, alors je demandais comme devoir de réfléchir sur comment les yeux sont liés avec cette énergie, avec le thème des obstacles dans la vie. Anybody? Does it make any sense to you whatsoever?
Yeah, I mean, it's like our ability to see, the obstacles or not see them.
But it's one of the senses that we rely on the most, so we receive so much information through the eyes that a lot of what we may have imprinted in our memories is received through what we saw. It's just a guess. Maybe something else.
Okay, let's do a review. We're looking at the circle or the cycle of life, and how energy moves through these very predictable cycles in all living systems. A circle has an infinite number of points. Just like a line has an infinite number of points. But we choose to look at the cardinal points, north, south, east, west. We choose to look at those points as a way of seeing how the energy is changing as it moves around the circle. Okay? We've chosen randomly to start at a certain place, and that place was incarnation. Okay? When a person comes into their body, when we inhale, the time of autumn, and this is the time of the seed falling into the earth. Related to the time of birth, related energetically to the organs of the lungs, the large intestine, the skin. The image is of someone being thrown into a container of some kind, right? And the first thing that a person or an animal will do is look all the way around the perimeter, all around the outside of the container, to be able to understand and to see, is there a way out, right? So that's the image of that first step, is knowing the boundary. That's why the skin is involved. That's why the lungs are involved, where we take in the outside world into our inside world, and the intestines in the same way. It's that interface between the outside and the inside. And the question in metal element in this part of the cycle is, am I in a prison or in a temple? No? Am I here in a way that separates me from the rest of the world, or am I here in order to truly connect with the universe? And what we've learned about our physical bodies is that they are prisons, because we haven't learned to honor the multitude of ways that our bodies connect us to the earth and to all of our ancestors through time. And speaking of ancestors, the next step that we're looking at is defined as the water element. And we use these words, these descriptions of elements, simply as a way of understanding the state of the energy at that point. And so the north direction related to the water element, water element can be gas or fluid or ice, right? And our reaction to our ancestors can be either rigid and this is the way it is, or it can be flowing through us as a river that feeds us, or it can be something that feeds us in a different way, immaterially. Something that is more intangible, that we still honor. Because this point in the circle, this place in the circle, is about honoring our ancestors. It's the once you've looked at the container, you then look inside and see, okay, what's in here with me? This is the identity that we've learned from our ancestors, and then really learned in the first parts of our lives when we're fixed on our parents as what we must become. And the organs here that are related to this part of the cycle are the kidneys, the bladder, the ears, and the bones. And then the next phase is where we are now, is this, it's in the east. It's the phase of manifesting oneself, of going out into the world. And the eyes are our perception. Our reality is created by our perception. We perceive according to what we believe. And so the beliefs that come from this north direction, that come from water element, that come from our identity that we've learned, those beliefs will then determine our perception of the world. Huh? Our beliefs actually create our realities. Our perception is everything. How we see the world inside is what we project onto the world outside. What we believe is what we gather around us so that we can learn what we believe. This is so beautiful. You understand? The obstacles, the obstacles that we call in front of us are a way of understanding what we have been programmed with. That's a way of making visible what is invisible, what we don't question, because it's programmed into ourselves. So we spoke last time about our reactions, the different reactions that we can have to obstacles. But the fact is that as long as we're in this container, we're observing the world through the bars of the prison, right? That's what the obstacle is. Any obstacle in our path, anything blocking where we want to go, is created by this prison that we are in. And so, the different things blocking our path in our lives, towards ourselves, are simply the definition of the prison. What we learned as our limits. Vous me suivez? Okay. An example that I quote very often is an experiment that was done where there's a couple and their child, and the mother is hypnotized and is told, when you come to, you won't be able to see your daughter. Okay? And so, the hypnotist goes out of the room, she wakes up, comes out of it, and the husband's standing here, the daughter's standing here, and the woman is able to read the watch of the husband behind the daughter. She can't see the daughter because she's been told that she can't see the daughter. We can only see what we've been told to see in a very concrete way. The programming that goes on inside us it's not done in a nasty way, right? It's done to help us survive. What we learn from our parents is what they learned about how to survive. And every soldier knows about this, right? The drills that are done in the army, in the military, are so that in a dangerous situation, you don't think. You react immediately without thinking, right? And we are trained in the same way as the military trains. Excuse me. Okay, that one's all right. I have to keep this on because I have a lady who's due to give birth. Her due date is tomorrow. So.
You're on call.
I'm on call. So you understand what we are programmed with is done so well that we don't think about it. It is invisible to us. It is totally unconscious. It's like the autonomic nervous system, as I said. You know, the part of our nervous system that governs the heartbeat, that governs the functioning, the automatic functioning of our body. Our programming is exactly the same. It's whatever we think is how we're made. You understand? When we say, bon, je suis faite comme ça. Yes, we're made like that. We are made like that. We're moulé, formed like that, right? And the incredible gift of being here now is that we are made in the image of our creators, our mummies and daddies, but we're also made in the image of our creator, Source. And we have the option now to release the programming based in survival and fear and assume the identity of Source, of Spirit, of oneness. Fear and survival programming have been related to the physical body, to physical existence, and the need for the body to survive, and for the lineage to survive, and humanity to survive. When we know that we are eternal, that becomes less of an issue. When we know that the physical body is not separate from spirit, it also becomes not an issue. So, if we're standing inside a prison, looking out, all we see is the bars. All we see is the bars in front of us, holding us back, keeping us away from what we want. If we're inside a temple, we see where we are as a place of connection with the universe. It's really very simple. It's very, very simple. I was quite young when I first read about or heard about the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which very simply states that measuring anything changes it. It's a principle in physics. When you measure something, you change it. And for some reason, I immediately understood that perception is a form of measuring. And so when we perceive something, we transform it. Which means that there's as many different realities as there are individuals perceiving reality. And I don't want to even think about that. That's just like, it's like a number with too many zeros. Okay, my brain is checking out right there. Oh? I think there's some things that only the heart can really understand. So, why are the eyes related to this element? It's because our perception is what defines the obstacles in our lives. Our learned perception, our programmed perception. And these wonderful obstacles in our lives are there to help us see the programming, so it's no longer automatic and invisible. I need a Kleenex again. Kate? Thank you. And recently, they discovered that, I guess it's not so recent now, but they discovered that there's the same cells. The same cells that are found in the eye that deal with vitamin A are also found in the liver. Right?
That's interesting.
And what food is good for the eyes? Carrots! Everybody knows.
Man, that brought back a memory of childhood.
That's right. Everybody's told that, right? And carotene is vitamin A, right? And it's good for the liver. There was something, you were supposed to remind me of something. Remember? You were about to bring something up last time.
Hips and faith.
I knew the faith part, but I couldn't remember what it was.
It was about the hips.
Yeah, we were,
Mm,
that's right.
about the hips.
So we were talking about the joints, les articulations, and how they're related to this part of the flow of life. What is faith? What is it?
Believing in something. Like, believing that it can happen.
Believing in something that you might not be able to see or prove exists.
Mhm.
So a lot of people say that faith is blind belief and criticize it. right? Because it's blind belief. So when you say you have faith in God, you have faith in Obama, you have faith in, you know, your mommy and daddy, faith in Harper to fuck up the government.
I like these little subliminal messages
Yeah.
that I was putting into the video. Well, they're not so
That's
subliminal.
not subliminal at all.
In addition, we'll also be doing this.
You can't separate politics and life and health.
Mm.
One of the most devastating sentiments for any living being is the sentiment of powerlessness. Hmm? And that's where politics comes in. Huh? And actually, this whole theme of the Eastern Gate and the wood element is also deals with responsibility. Because when we're blaming people, right, pointing our fingers at people, we're not taking responsibility. We're saying it's all because of bada 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 bada, right? It's because of the prison that I can't get out. It's those prison bars in front of me, right? And those prison bars are our definition of ourselves as victims, as not deserving, as whatever, right? So as long as we're blaming anything external to ourselves, we're taking a powerless situation, stance, right? I can't do anything about it. It's because, they're, the people in charge, whoever's in charge, right? And there's nothing I can do about it. But when we begin to take responsibility for our lives and our realities, our perceptions, it involves taking back our power. Taking back our power to create the reality that we wish. And again, we get back into that piège, into that trap. That very often what we wish, our ideal, is simply the opposite of what we lived, right? We base our ideals on what we learned and take the opposite of that. Remember, we talked about that? And so when our ideals are created in isometric resistance to our program, it's still the program, right? And so the first step in being free to imagine another form of world is to be able to see the program. Part of the program is that we have to be nice, obedient members of society. We have to stop at all the stop signs, pay our income tax. Don't speak loudly in public. Don't clap between pieces. Huh? It's amazing, right? Wear the right thing at the right time. There's a gazillion rules that we're supposed to follow. We're supposed to follow. The word that I see a lot in exchanges on the internet is sheeple. Sheep, people, sheeple. Right? Et qu'est-ce qu'on fait avec des moutons? On mange la laine de leur dos. So, yeah, this is political, for sure. And it's about each one of us connecting with who we really are, seeing clearly what we've been taught to be, and doing a little bit of sorting out. One of the most political choices that we can make these days is in what we're going to eat. That's one of the most powerful choices that we have right now. Because politics and food and water are absolutely intertwined. It's extremely important that we choose consciously. Not only for our own health, but our bodies are the planet. Treating our bodies well treats the planet well, and treats this whole organism that is humanity and that is Gaia. Thank you. So why was I talking about Harper fucking up our government?
Faith and
Oh,
the
right.
hips.
And what's the difference between faith and hope?
There is a letting go in faith and not having hope. Surrender.
A surrender. Okay. And what does surrender imply? If we are able to surrender, what does that mean?
Trust.
Trust.
And if we're being hopeful, then it's almost like we're lacking, or that
We're
we're not sure.
Is an element of doubt, right?
An element
And
of
hope.
doubt, yeah.
There's another aspect also. And Amira?
About hope.
Hope and faith. There's another aspect of the difference.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, similar. I mean that hope implies that it might not happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that just yeah.
Hope is also referencing the past. Hope is based in the past, in things that we already know. Hope is based in what we've seen before that we really didn't want to happen again, we don't want to happen again, or wonderful things that we hope will happen again, right? It's based in sensations and experiences that we've already lived, that we're projecting negatively or positively into the future.
Yeah, like I hope that doesn't happen again. I hope that happens again.
So we don't take our own power when we say hope.
We don't always take our own power when we're saying faith either, right? But faith is walking towards something that's unknown. It's walking in the forest with no flashlight. And having the faith that it'll be okay. So, having faith external to ourselves is also giving up power entirely, right? And so when we're young, we have faith in our parents, right? We don't know what this world is going to be. We learn the parameters of our world through what they teach us. We learn how to see the world through our parents' eyes. And then we continue through our lives with the faith that our parents' models will guide us well. And it is when we come to this part of the cycle, when we're manifesting ourselves in the world, we're going out into the world and boom, something stops us, that we get to question what our parents taught us, right? When all of a sudden we're just going dum 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 dum, doing our lives, just the way we were told to do, and we keep hitting walls or running into problems, right? And life for some reason is just not flowing the way it's supposed to, right? Then we get to question. And remember, the Saturn return at the end of the 20s is when we do this question. 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30. So in this time now, in this third part of the cycles, 20 to 30 years old, is when we hit obstacles and begin to reflect and to question the foundations upon which we've constructed our lives.
Dawn, wasn't wooden adolescence?
No, what you were thinking about is our discussion of the different parts of the,
Okay.
right, I think?
Mhm. Yeah, right, right.
Remember we were talking about the chronology of the
Mm-hmm.
les membres, the limbs? Mhm.
Okay.
No, adolescence is the water element when we're trying on figuring out our identities, right? Are we going to be totally like our parents, or are we going to pretend that we're not and rebel against it, right? And then we choose a certain way of being. Okay, this is it, this is what I'm going to wear out there. And then we step out into the world, which is also, right, springtime is the east also. If we've done the west, metal and autumn, the north, winter, and I forget.
And
Water.
water.
And then the east, wood, and springtime, right? So we cross the threshold out into the world. The bear who has gone into her cave in the winter and then is coming out and crossing the threshold into the outside world in the spring. And so now, remember we were talking about trying on roles. Okay? This is who I'm going to be. Right? Done. Okay.
Let's find the other one too.
Yeah, that's right. Done. It's like those cartoons, right? What? Crazy Coyotes. That thing? Yeah, yeah.
Don't we should have a break soon?
I was just gonna say that. Thank you.
Just before we break, what was the other organ? Sorry, it was liver, joints, eyes. You said it in French. I just didn't know.
Liver and gallbladder.
Gallbladder. Thank you.
Okay.
What is it in French? Vesicule.
Vesicule